Uh, Welcome everyone to the SEAC meeting for tonight, Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. I will now call the meeting to order. We have regrets from Shelley Foster and Jennifer Knight that we've been in touch with, and we do have quorum. So we are now moving on to the acknowledgement of the traditional lands.
The land upon which we work, live, and sustain ourselves is the ancestral and treaty lands of the Michizagig Anishinaabe, also known today as the Mississaugas of the Credit, the rightful caretakers and title holders of this land. We also recognize the rich pre-contact history and relationships which include the Anishinaabe and the Ongwe Hongwe.
Since European contact, this land continues to be home to Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. As responsible community members, we value the diversity, dignity, and worth of all people.
Colonialism displaced and dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their ancestral land
and continues to deny their basic human rights, dignities, and freedoms.
We are committed to learning true history to reconcile, make reparations, and fulfill our treaty obligations to the original peoples and our collective responsibilities to the lands, water, animals, and each other for future generations.
Right, we're moving on to the number 3, the approval of agenda. So may I have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee approves the agenda of January 21st, 2025. Thank you. And seconded? Great. All right, and then we are moving, is there any discussion of the agenda? I think we're all pretty good. And we do want to know that we have a number of members who are also online. So I'll have to look up occasionally so we don't miss them. So all in favor of adopting the agenda? Okay, so moved. Now, number 4, any declarations of conflicts of interest? Does anybody have any to declare tonight? Okay, so that is noted that there are no conflicts of interest. And now we are to the approval of the minutes, which is 5.1. So that would be from the meeting of, whenever that was. Sorry, December 17th, 2024. So may I have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee approves the minutes of the December 17th, 2024 meeting? I would assume. Thank you very much. And second. Great. And if there's any discussion or questions or concerns about the minutes. And none noted. So all in favor of adopting the minutes as shown. Here we go. Oh, yeah, and we have also our folks that are coming in virtually. And number 6, delegations. There are no delegations this evening, so we're moving right into reports from officials and staff. So I can now turn it over to.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and as shared by Dorothy, Happy New Year. I hope you all had a restful and rejuvenating holiday season. As we step into this new year, I continue to be filled with optimism and excitement about the continued partnership we have with SEAC. I want to personally congratulate our new chair and vice chair who couldn't be with us this evening, and I really look forward to working alongside of you. SEAC's ongoing dedication and commitment to supporting students with special education needs is truly invaluable, and I look forward to working together to achieve even greater success in the months ahead. One of the highlights I'd like to share is the recent ADHD training that was provided to staff across the board. We are seeing positive impacts as our educators, administrators, and support staff are gaining deeper insights into the unique needs of students with ADHD. This training has helped foster a more inclusive and supportive classroom environment, ensuring that students receive the tools and strategies that they need to thrive academically and socially. It is always encouraging to see such collaborative efforts come to life and to know that it will directly benefit our students. More details about the training, which was supported by significant advocacy by SEAC and delegates, will be shared by Psychology Manager Dr. Amelia Hsu later in the agenda. As we engage in planning for the 2025-2026 school year, we will continue to review the department structure in such a way that continues to center students and student needs. We recognize that there are factors in the education sector beyond the influence of this department that impact the overall organization of the school board, such as provincial funding, student enrollment, absenteeism, and staff shortages. As such, along with other central departments, we will be reviewing the structure and staffing. We are dedicated to ensuring that all of these changes are carried out thoughtfully with a focus on maintaining the support and services that our students rely on. All departments involved in the reorganization are fully committed to this goal, ensuring the student success and well-being remains in the forefront of our decision-making. The board is in the beginning the decision-making process phases, and we will know the impacts of these changes in the weeks ahead. And to that end, in the spirit of collaboration, where possible, we would like to discuss some of the changes with SEAC as to what foundational elements are needed within the department. We would like to propose having an interim meeting prior to our February SEAC meeting where we can discuss with you and receive feedback, and those things will be discussed through the chair and shared with all of you. In accordance with our agreed upon monthly agenda, I would also like to provide an update regarding our work in special education. At this time, we are not in the process of reviewing or updating any policies. However, we are actively reviewing several key operating procedures. This review is focused on ensuring that our operating procedures are aligned with current best practices and continue to support the needs of our students effectively. As always, we are committed to maintaining transparency throughout the process, and we will keep you informed of any significant developments or changes to the operating procedures as they begin to be rewritten. Another area of growth and success I want to celebrate is the incredible work being done through our after-school skills development program. This initiative has been a wonderful opportunity for students to receive additional support in a more informal, flexible setting. From building social skills to enhancing academic abilities, the program has made a meaningful impact on many of our students. I am so grateful to all of the staff and community partners involved for their tireless efforts in making this program a success and the partnerships they have with families. It truly demonstrates the power of personalized learning and the difference it can make in a student's development. I would just like to share briefly a slide deck from the ASSDP because I always think it's really important for SEAC to have a visual and see students experiencing these things. So this is the overview of the ASSDP and PDSP. Next slide, please. So in 2006, school boards were invited to complete applications for new or existing ASSDPs for students with autism. And from 2016 to 2019, we received a grant with Saturday and summer kindergarten programs operating in select Peelschools. Currently, we have programs operating virtually and in person on selected weeknights and weekends, supporting students now from kindergarten all the way to age 21. Current programs are created, managed, and co-facilitated by an ASSDP teacher facilitator hired during the start of the pandemic that continues to work with students. It is a multidisciplinary team approach. We started the creation of Autism Community Connection Family Nights and have continued to make sure that students and families feel connected to peers and others. And we have coffee chats created for families seeking support, so we have continued access to the many supports offered in Peel and throughout the district. We have virtual programs and experiences and select in-person learning experiences that began after the pandemic in 2022-2023. And they continue to expand in direct response to identified needs and wants from families. So it's a very responsive program. And as you know, success happens, we continue to expand. Expansion of in-person programs is possible through ASSDP Learning Space at the Adult Education Center, which is in the south of Mississauga. Next slide, please. So who is the team? We have both speech and language and occupational therapists, so PSSP staff, special education teachers, itinerant center coordinator, and we have many, as we do with SEAC, qualified community partnerships. The goals is really focused on functional and social communication, functional play to support communications and emotions, emotional literacy and self-co-regulation, and personal and life transition and advocacies. Where and how, again, we shared that we have both virtual and in-person, and why. Students and families receive a final student report with reflect session summaries, resources, and student-specific recommendations for both home and school environments to help bridge and co-build supportive communities. Next slide, please. So these are some of our speech and language pathologists, educators, our occupational therapists, and other ABA and coordinating principals, Earl Jacket, who was here, oversees the program, and of course the amazing Erica Glover, who is our ASSVP teacher facilitator. Slide, please. Again, some just ideas of what we do virtually. We do one-to-one family coaching to help, again, bridge the gap between community and school. We do grade 6 to 8 art from the heart, and that Aiden Lee has come in and taught. Aiden Lee is a student with autism, now an adult, and who came in and teaches students about his experiences and his journey and how he speaks and communicates through art. And we have senior kindergarten, grade 2 small group family coaching. In person, we do floor curling, AAC student and family coaching, and choose your own adventure. We have cooking and paint nights, silent disco, which was my favorite event of the year. You should see coordinating principal George Schultenitis dance. And December 18th, we'll have another event where we'll do something virtually. These are just some visuals of some of the programs that we have and some of the experiences that they're doing. You can see that they're growing things, they're creating art, and we have a really welcoming environment for students to come into. Next slide, please. Again, some are just pictures from the program and the community and having experiences. Thank you. Looking forward, I want to inform you that next month we will be sharing potential changes as well to some of our special programs for your feedback. As always, your insights and perspectives are incredibly important to us. And as such, we will hold on sharing section 9 of the special education plan until we present these potential changes, have some feedback, and then we'll update the special education plan, that's section 9, until we receive your feedback and implement some changes. So I want to thank you for your continued collaboration and support. Together, I think we will make 2025 a positive year of impact for our students. I'm excited for what we will accomplish, and I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, Trustee Clark.
Thank you, through you, Chair. How does a parent or student access these, like special programs? Is it through do they talk to the principal or?
So yes, access would happen through our special programs resource teachers, and those teachers are in student review meetings with families and communities and offer those programs through that. I will also say that the teacher facilitator does an excellent job at advocating with colleagues, teacher colleagues, and having networks of communities. So really it does happen at the ground level through the student review meetings. Opportunities are shared and invitations are extended that way. Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions?
Yeah.
Andrew, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Is there an opportunity to extend this program to other exceptionalities, or is it just for anyone who has ASD?
So through you, Chair, I will ask Coordinating Principal Earl Jacket to share the funding mechanism that supports this program and what that looks like.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So this is a program that is specifically ministry funded, and the funds must be directed towards supporting and creating programs for students with autism. On some of the things we've done, we have opened it up a little more, but we do have to ensure that our primary candidates have autism based on the funding that we're given.
Are there other questions? I have one. I'm just wondering how many students currently are participating.
Through you, Chair, I will again ask Coordinating Principal Earl Jacket to share, because it does vary on activity to activity and day to day, depending on if it's in line or in person, but she'll have a better idea of numbers. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. So sorry, at this moment, I can't tell you because there are these the different models that go on different nights of the week. It is coaching with parents. There are the drop-in coffee and chats that are like consulting with parents and supporting them and developing communication skills and things within the home setting. So it varies from week to week. There might be 20, 50 participants. If it's an in-person event, we might have anywhere from 10 to 60 students out. Like then the silent disco will fill the Mississauga room with dancers or with painters, right? In the summertime, we do provide the summer camps data in terms of how many students participate and at which ages. We do have records. My computer just shut down, or I would have gone in and actually looked up some specific numbers for you, but I can't. It's just rebooting.
That's great. Thank you.
You mentioned the Mississauga room. Do all the events take place here?
Through you, Chair. So when we have a large event and we want to open it up to a larger group and we can book the Mississauga room, we do. Some of the events are occurring down at the Adult Education Center in the south because we have like a permanent space there. That was sort of that classroom space that you saw. That's available for us to use for groups by like age group and by specific activity. And then other events. So you saw the floor curling. That picture I think was taken at Allen Drive in Bolton. Another picture was I think from Stephen Lewis Secondary. So we're trying to hold them in various locations to make it accessible to many students and families.
Good. And through you, Chair, we'd love it to invite SEAC to one of the events as well, so you can participate alongside the family and communities. It is quite amazing.
That would be great. Any other questions, comments? If we've covered everything, then we have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee receives the superintendent's report. Barb and Jeff, seconded. And any discussion, I guess. All in favor? Great, so that is accepted. And so now 7.2, are we doing that review? Okay, so now we're at the PDSB Special Education Plan Review and Consultation 7.2.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. After a meeting with the new chair and vice chair, there has been a request made that we begin as a team to document some of the feedback so that can be reflected in the special education plan. We're trying to do that today, and we'll make sure that we capture through listening to the minutes all of the questions accurately. So I would like to ask coordinating principal Jeff Bertrand to please share standards 7 and 8.
Okay, thank you, and through you, Chair. The review tip this month is of standards 7 and 8. Next slide, please. And once again, the link to our publicly accessible special education plan is included in the report. It's easy enough as well to Google. It comes up as the first item so that it's nice and easy for folks to find. Next slide, please. As we're collecting feedback, just these are the same guiding questions that we've shown pretty much every month. Just wanting to know, is the information clearly presented? Is the language used accessible? We know there are sections we need to do a better job of making accessible to families. And so that's why we bring these forward each month. Is there anything that is not there or you feel the information is not adequate enough? And then what additional information might be helpful for families? Next slide, please. So for standard 7, we have received an updated chart around the parties responsible for providing services as per PPM 81. So that will need to be included in our plan for next year. And so we will be looking to include that as soon as we get some clarification around a couple of items, but that will be going in there. And then we'll continue to update it for anything that is added throughout the year to that chart. So that has just come to us recently. So we'll be looking to update that. Next slide, please. Standard 8. So as Superintendent Scucato mentioned, there are a number of operating procedures that we are currently looking at and potentially revising, one of which is the regional testing operating procedure, because it was not reflective of our current practice now that we have moved to using the Naglieri General Abilities Test as our grade 4 gifted screener. And so once we revise that operating procedure, I'm hoping that we'll be able to revise and provide more clarity within the criteria for gifted, because there is a significant difference in the specificity of the criteria for the Naglieri versus what we look for when we use a CCAT. And so we're hoping to do that at some point. We have not finalized the operating procedure revision process. And so that's why I don't have the information specifically for sharing tonight. That OP is currently getting feedback from various departments on an initial draft, and hopefully we'll be able to share an update shortly as we work through that process. Next slide, please. So Superintendent Scucato said that, we are going to try something a little bit different in terms of collecting feedback at the meetings and documenting it. And this is hard to read. We know that, but really what we wanted to show was some of the feedback we've received from the link on our website. So we've constantly referred to the link. And so we have received some feedback from the community and from SEAC members. And so we've gone through and responded to some of the feedback. So in one case, one of our coordinators reached out to the individual who left the feedback to provide clarification and some additional information for them. And next slide, please. In another case, we reviewed where items were in the special education plan to ensure that they were in there. And then we'll just need to make it easier for families and the public to find that information, which is part of our ongoing revision. And next slide, please. So again, there's the link or the bit.ly if you wish to provide feedback. But I think at this time, if there's any additional feedback for sections 7 and 8 that you'd like to provide, we are happy to document that and take that back.
Are there any questions or feedback? We're having a discussion at this point? Yeah. I know that Jen's going to be very sad that she typically is the person that's gone through Jennifer Knight. But are there other members that have comments or feedback or questions?
I provided some feedback through the link, but I can give it here too, if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, why are you using only the verbal for the NEF?
Okay, documented, thank you.
And then on the psychoeducational assessment, it says, it mentions measure of intellectual ability composite. What is that?
Are you suggesting that when we put that, we should put in brackets a definition of what that is?
Yes.
Okay, okay, perfect.
I'm guessing it probably needs a full scale IQ.
So measure of intellectual, sorry, can you repeat that? I'm just making sure I don't.
Well, it says measure of intellectual ability composite.
Okay, so a definition of what that is. Thank you. Documented.
And I think there needs to be more links to things, like parents reading one section might not know what an IPRC is or what an SRM is.
And I think one of the things we have discussed is to reduce the number of acronyms, since there are a lot of them. Yes. So anything where we could be.
Yeah, or a link to acronyms or something.
Thank you. Thank you, documented.
Are there other questions or feedback or concerns from either those present or our virtual? Yes. Okay, at this time, if that, and of course, we will, of course, defer to Jennifer Knight, who will be back with a host of feedback, but we were really fortunate to be able to meet and discuss just more plain language in terms of being able to communicate both with parents and caregivers, as well as community representatives, because not all of us have the up-to-date, we don't speak in PBSBEs all the time, and also just to be able to, and we will prepare people more in the upcoming meetings that we can give feedback here rather than just by link, because if we're just putting in feedback by link, we're not able to hear each other, kind of bounce ideas off one another. So this is the beginning of that process, and I very much appreciate you putting that in.
And through you, Chair, if I may, we have also, as requested by SEAC, just finished the final drafts of a guide to special education for parents, which would have some of that language pulled out of the special education plan in a less dense way for the really high impact things that they want to know. How do I attend a, what is an SRF like? What happens at an IPRC? So pulling out some of the pertinent information into a much more condensed model to make it accessible, and we're hoping to have that translated as well. So we're going to bring that back to SEAC for feedback.
Thank you. So any other feedback or questions? If there is none, may I have a motion?
Oh, there is someone
sorry.
online.
Up behind me. Jessie, please go ahead.
Hi, yeah. I just wanted to ask, last year we had chatted at length about the orientation mobility assessments and the Michigan scale. Is that going to be like the tools that we use to assess blind, low vision children getting the vision itinerant services? Are those going to be referenced in the plan here? I was trying to scan quickly. I mean, I can take some time after the meeting, but are they referenced in the tool and then hyperlinked into, what tools and assessments are used to make that determination?
Thank you, documented.
Any other questions or feedback? And I am checking virtual as well. Also, do remember this is a process. So if you miss the meeting or you come up with something later, you can certainly go to the link or to bring it back to the following meeting. So may I have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee receives the PBSB Special Education Plan Review and Consultation Report? Mover and seconders, Chad. There we go. And do we have somebody else that we can have a seconder, or are we going to just keep using? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So if there's no discussion, then all in favor. Okay, so that is received. And we are moving rapidly. So we are moving on to 7.3, which is the Ontario School Information System, reporting data special education.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, we did share a written report on the requested ONSIS data and are happy to answer any questions from the details in the report.
Is there anyone who's had a chance to go through this, and do you have any questions? Oh, sorry, please go ahead.
Well, thank you for the information you did provide, but we asked for the information also to be provided, broken down by grade or division and gender.
Through you, Chair, I would like to ask Coordinating Principal Jeff Bertrand to respond, as there were some limitations in the data we were able to get.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Yeah, we went back and forth with LTSS a number of times, and the gender one, I'll go back again and ask them. We are transitioning some of our student information systems, and so the certification process has been slower this year than in previous years, and so we were able to get what is called a J report, which is what we report to the ministry through ONSIS. And so I will go back and ask for clarification around why gender is not included in that report. And then by division.
Grade, it would be preferable by grade.
Okay, I can take that back as well.
But if not by grade, then at least by division, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we used to get it. This used to be multiple, it was like 12 pages long, the report we used to get.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's been a change in the J report for the ministry. I'll have to get clarification from LTSS around that.
Okay,
Because I haven't seen it by grade, but gender we should be able to get.
okay, thank you.
Other questions? Anyone for first one? Oh, Barb, go ahead.
One more question. I noticed a huge jump in the number of students identified as gifted. Where did all these students come from?
Was that related to change to NGAT, maybe?
I don't think so. That's like more than 4% of the students.
So through you, Chair, we will take that back and do a deeper analysis into that and come back to you with the results.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, sorry, I'm always thinking back. Jassy, please go ahead. And then Andrew.
How many blind low vision itinerants do we have in Peel? Because this is, if I'm reading this right, we had 12 students in 2024 that were blind low vision.
Through you, Chair, I believe we have 12 itinerant, is that 12 or 9? 9, sorry, 9 itinerant blind low vision teachers, 12 deaf and hard of hearing.
Okay, but we only had 12 students that were in the blind low vision program, or that had an itinerant then? Because it says placements by identification. So there was only 12 students in all of Peel that were identified as blind low vision, but we have 9 itinerants. Something about that seems odd, because I know, speaking with our blind low vision itinerant, she has several students on a daily basis. And if there's 9, I don't know, the math just doesn't add up for me. So there's 9 itinerants, but there's only 12 students.
Through you, Chair, I'll see if Jeff, coordinating principal Bertrand has a response, or we'll come back to you with that. But we do know that there are far more than 12 students.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you, and through you, Chair. In the case of students receiving support through a vision itinerant, many of those students do not go through an IPRC process because they can access support without the identification. And so that is why that number is low on that particular chart, because that is placements by exceptionality. And therefore, if they're receiving support as a non-identified student, they don't have a placement technically. And so, yes, we have significantly more than 12 students. That particular chart only captures those with a formal placement. And that's why that number is low. I don't have the exact number of how many students we do have that are being offered support through our itinerants, but it is significantly more than that.
I don't know if I can jump in, or do I wait? Sorry, I apologize.
No, please go ahead.
Principal Bertrand, you mentioned if they get formal service through the IPRC, then that individual would be captured in this report. How does one get informal service? Like, I think about the students that are getting blind low vision itinerant service and then service in the school. Don't they need to be identified through the IPRC, or can they just self-identify, like the parent can self-identify to the principal, and the principal can just start to get them itinerant service? Like, I thought there was always a formal process for a student to be getting blind low vision support.
Thank you, and through your chair. Okay, I'll try and make sure I choose my words very carefully, because I think I'm maybe not being as clear. So in that chart, it identifies students who have received a placement, which is offered through an IPRC. We have many students who do not go through an IPRC, but still receive support and service from special education staff. And so for our blind low vision students, that is typically the process. They would go through a student review meeting at the school, there would be a recommendation for itinerant support. And then they would connect with our coordinator who would review and assign an itinerant. So there is a process that all the students would go through. It's just not an IPRC necessarily. Also, the students identified in that chart, that would be their primary exceptionality for placement. And so there could be other students who have another exceptionality that is identified as their primary, but who are also blind, low vision. So it isn't as straightforward as just 12.
But when we're asking, sorry.
And through you, Chair, I just want to reiterate that, remember, there is no funding difference. We answered that question to SEAC last year. If somebody is formally identified through IPRC or not, and it does not impact the level of service they receive.
But should we not, Superintendent Sakato and Principal Bertrand, should we not be capturing that data and number? Because I feel like this inaccurately represents, and I know that the number or the envelope doesn't change, but when you're going back to the ministry and saying 12 or 200, does that not matter? Like, I understand that there's a process difference between formal and informal, or however you explained it, but I'm just thinking from asking from an envelope perspective for funding and saying Peel now has 200 students or 12, there's like a significant difference.
Through you, Chair, it does not impact our funding mechanism that we're receiving from the ministry. So I did share that information last year through a motion action log, but I had a strong conversation with the ministry to see if we needed to formally identify through IPRC, and the answer was no, we do not. But through you, Chair, again, Jazzy, I understand what you're saying from an optics perspective of how many kids we're serving, and that is captured through other data, through IEP data and other data in the board. So we do have data that we share throughout the board. So, and we have caseload data and all of that we share as well.
Jazzy, are you finished at this point?
Yes, thank you. Yep.
And would we be able to get access to that, the fuller data? Because I guess this is a part of what the confusion is, or it just, these are captured by one particular mechanism. And then there's the interest in knowing the full data of the students that are being supported. Is that possible?
Through you, Chair, we can come back with understanding how many students are being supported. Yes, thank you.
And I think we also had Andrew. Oh, sorry, Angie. Andrew. It's Andrew. Sorry.
You're muted.
Yeah, you're still muted.
Oh, maybe she's gonna try to type it in the chat.
She is waving us off.
Oh, no, she's saying maybe. Through you, Chair, Andrew, do you want to try to type it in the chat and see if I can answer it that way?
Oh. Muted.
No, her microphone's not enabled.
Oh, it's not enabled. Okay. Okay.
She doesn't have it now. Okay.
Through you, Chair, I'm happy if you want to email any questions, Andrew, I'm happy to answer them.
You should also type it in the chat.
Yeah, I said.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Okay. And now I have to go back to where we are. May I have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee receives the Ontario School Information System Reporting Data Special Education Report? Mover, Byrne. Seconder, Check. You're very popular. And yet it's just, I'm always looking slightly to the left. Not surprising. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, so that is received. And now we are moving on to communications and action. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry about that. I had to repeat and I'm missing part of my script. So 7.4 is, can you remind me of ADHD presentation? Oh, sorry, that's the ADHD presentation. That's what we're all waiting for. So if we can move forward with that.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, I'd like to ask our psychology manager, Dr. Amelia Shu, to please present on behalf of the board.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and through you, Chair. I'm here to share an update on the ADHD and FASD professional learning and resources provided by the board. This work was developed by a dedicated summer writing team, which included psychology and social work staff, educational assistants, teachers, and an external consultant, Dr. Archie Kwan. Our implementation team included psychology staff, educational assistants, special education resource teachers, special programs resource teachers, and social emotional learning resource teachers. We are incredibly grateful for the collaboration of such a diverse group. Together, we have created excellent training and resources to better support our students at Peel. Next slide, please. A training program has been developed, professional learning has been developed that focuses on helping staff support students with ADHD. We have planned 6 training sessions from December to April, 1 for the social emotional learning team and 5 for teaching staff. These sessions will train around 400 staff, including classroom teachers, special education teachers, support staff, and administrators. All 6 sessions are already fully registered, showing great interest for this learning. We are working on adding more dates, space, and schedule allows. We have also launched a new ADHD website on our SharePoint site and have introduced an educator resource titled Supporting and Building Executive Functioning Skills for Students. Our goal is to equip educators with knowledge and tools to better support students with ADHD. Next slide, please. The training combines new and existing work on FASD to create a comprehensive learning opportunity for staff. ADHD and FASD, if you remember, was combined for the learning because they share similar challenges, especially in areas like executive function and self-regulation, which are key to learning and succeeding in the classroom. The training is based on 5 key ideas, which I will review briefly. Big idea 1 begins by providing the understanding that ADHD and FASD is rooted in the concept of neurodiversity, which recognizes that brain differences are natural variations. We start by explaining the neurobiology of ADHD and FASD related to brain differences and neurotransmitter systems, helping staff understand that these are not choices students make or conditions that can be fixed. Instead, they involve learning skills that need to be supported and developed across multiple domains. Big idea 2 highlights individualized support and collaboration. Each student is unique and meeting their needs requires individualized responses that goes beyond their diagnoses. This section emphasizes the importance of authentic collaboration between educators, students, caregivers, and multidisciplinary teams to the student review process. Educators also reflect on how their own perspectives and experiences can influence how they understand behaviors and build relationships with students and families. Next slide, please. Big idea 3 focuses on the importance of supporting and teaching executive function and self-regulation skills. Educators explore why, how, and when to teach the skills by sharing best practices and successful strategies, generating new ideas together, and reflecting on what is currently being done in their classrooms. Big idea 4 reviews universal design for learning in the classroom. Educators are given the time and tools to investigate in groups how to support all students in their class to develop self-awareness, self-advocacy, and executive functioning skills. This is done by guided conversations around how to design a supportive classroom environment, use effective teaching strategies, and give student voice and choice in their learning. Educators also learn how to set and implement IEP goals, including accommodations and modifications, implement the IEP effectively, and monitor for effectiveness. And finally, Big Idea 5 encourages educators to go more deeply in how to use effective strategies at all different levels of support, from universal, good for all in the classroom, Tier 1 implementation, to Tier 3 interventions. After 3 sessions, the feedback from participants has been excellent. Participants have found the training informative, engaging, and practical for use with the students in their schools and classrooms immediately. With each training, we have offered participants an opportunity to give us feedback on the learning, and each time we are implementing and putting those feedback into refining the slide deck further. In a collaborative effort between LTSS, Special Education, Safety and Wellbeing, and EML, we have launched a new website for all PDSB staff. This website complements the professional learning and aims to raise awareness and understanding of ADHD while providing practical support for educators. It offers valuable information and resources to help educators effectively support and program for students with ADHD in their classrooms and schools. Click on the link.
Website, right?
Yes. So just a quick, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of the website, just to kind of show you what the website looks like. So this is the homepage that features kind of a rotating banner that kind of showcases key ideas aligned with those that were highlighted during the professional learning. It includes 3 main sections that you can see at the bottom. If you can click on the overview one, so here in the overview of ADHD, you can explore, you scroll down, different topics such as the neurobiology, neurodiversity of ADHD, the characteristics of ADHD, some of looking at highlighting some gender-sensitive approaches to ADHD, as well as addressing and understanding the stigma on ADHD. And click the next one. So the next section looks at the strategies and resources that educators can explore. Right at the very top, you can see a link to the current slide deck as it stands for the professional learning. We've also developed and in kind of a resource that I will speak to a little bit later, as well as the Google site. And here at the bottom, you can see lots of different links, quick links that educators can explore based on their interests and go deeper and down into different topics. And finally, on the last section, just kind of different information about how students can access different supports within Peel. So this website continues to be a work in progress as well, just like the slide deck serves as the starting point right now for exploring all these different topics regarding ADHD awareness and support further. Again. So we've also developed a educator resource that really delves much more deeply into executive function and self-regulation skills in the different domains, and goes and provides educators with a way of understanding that all of those things, because they intertwine and are really interrelated to each other. We also have we have a section where educators can get a sense of when those domains are impacted, what that might look like in the classroom, and then accordingly what some of the accommodations and teaching strategies that we can use to develop and further support those skills. There is a link as well on the slide deck, but I won't go into that. So it is our hope that the professional learning website and resource will provide educators with valuable tools to effectively support students with executive functioning challenges, whether they have a diagnosis or not. So next, we plan to create additional resources for parents and caregivers, which will be shared on our external website. And we also hope to host virtual information and learning sessions for families. Feedback from educators and parents, guardians will guide us in defining those sessions and further improving our professional learning website and resource.
And through you, Chair, if I may add that, first of all, thank you, Dr. Shu, who led this work in collaboration for a very significant writing team that really was dedicated and again came out of advocacy for the SEAC. Part of the importance of any tool or resource that we create is an implementation and monitoring strategy. So as Dr. Shu shared, we have had much interest in professional learning for teaching staff, but want the breadth to be deeper than that. So we will continue to share at the special education conference at the start of the year, as well as make sure we're publicly sharing our, internally sharing our access to our website with the possibility of doing self-directed learning. Part of that accountability will be talking to my superintendent colleagues, our special programs resource teachers, our special education resource teachers, to make sure that they understand when they're sitting in SRMs with families that we talk about students with ADHD from a growth mindset, making sure that we know that they're confident and capable of learning, and provide them with really relevant and meaningful strategies to support their continued success in learning. So we're happy to answer any questions.
I think there's one that has been there for quite a while.
I think Andrew's left, can't get her hand down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Then Doris.
sorry.
Yeah, Dorothy has three
Okay,
questions.
Dorothy, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, and through you, Chair. Thanks very much for your presentation tonight. I wanted to get clarification. The information that you're sharing is more geared towards ADHD, a diagnosis of ADHD versus diagnosis of FASD. Even though they do share some similarities, they're vastly different in terms of diagnoses. So again, clarification, what you're presenting is more geared towards the ADHD, is that correct?
Through you, Chair, I will answer that. So the website is geared to ADHD. The professional learning that we, in terms of the slide deck, covers both ADHD and FASD, but this evenings, we've kind of really focused and highlighted a little bit more on the ADHD component. But with the professional learning, really trying to pull back a little bit from diagnosis and to really look at what the implications are in the classroom. And when we're looking at implications in the classroom and how these students with both of these diagnoses are impacted is through the learning skills that I highlighted, as well as executive functioning skills. And so that's where the practical piece of the learning through lots of different activities that teachers would participate and reflect on is the implementation and the change program and support strategies that they can use for these students.
And through you, Chair, if I can add, there is a commitment, Dorothy, to create a partner website for FASD as well, that would share the delineated resources and some things we've created here around the placemat and best practices. So we understand that while there are some similarities, there are also distinct differences. And so we have done the ADHD one, and we are committed to continuing that work with an FASD website as well. But as Dr. Shu shared, the training that happens is differentiated.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Trustee Benjamin.
Oh, Trustee Benjamin?
Yes, thank you so much. And through you, Chair, I'm just looking for a clarification. In the charts that you have provided us, the placements by exceptionality and placements by identification. So where does ADHD and FASD come in these categories or, the exceptionalities?
So FASD is, through you, Chair, FASD is commonly but not always captured through the multiple identification because of the impact of that diagnosis on multiple areas of functioning and the access that they require in terms of support. The LD, in terms of ADHD, sometimes it can be captured through the communication learning disability identification, but it really depends on student to student, and those organizations occur at SRM. I think Superintendent Supato has more to add as well, but it's not it's not a diagnosis that is captured through an identification or consistently. It is an individual approach and discussion for each student with that diagnosis.
And through you, Chair, again, no formal exceptionality is needed to receive the services and support. So I think that's really critical to understand that we do not need a formal exceptionality to receive the supports and services.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who's next in terms of questions? Any other? Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. That was an excellent reply. I like the direction we seem to be going. My question is, I've got a couple. How long? When did the training start? How many are involved in the training? And how do they get involved in the training? Like the teachers, like the staff. That's right.
So depending on so it started in December. We have 4 upcoming sessions that have already been fully registered for. Depending on the location, so that determines kind of the number of attendees that can attend for that session. The most recent one in January, we had over 60 participants participate, and that includes classroom teachers, our special education teachers, so in-school support teachers, some of our secondary heads as well as resource teachers, so a variety um, of educators in attendance, including some of our support staff as well.
And through you, Chair, it was advertised through Field News. So if we have internal kind of publishings that go out to all educators, comes in as an alert. And it's also all opportunities of professional learning come up automatically on the bottom of our website. And then again, through our special programs, resource teachers and special education resource teachers, they're always very good at sharing that with their in-school ISSP colleagues.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? I'm wondering if we can take a peek through the website.
It's, so through you, Chair, she did share the overview of the website, kind of high level overview with all of the subcategories, but it is an internal website. But as shared through Dr. Shu's report, we are doing a parent facing information as well on our special education website. But this is it up again on the screen.
Right.
This is the one with all of the
Right.
resources.
But we wouldn't be able to poke around in this because it's internal. Is that
Correct.
Right? Okay. Other questions? Okay, thank you very much for that. And where are we again? With a creating motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee receives the ADHD FASD report as presented. Motion, and Trustee Benjamin as second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? And now we're on to number 8, communications for action and receipt. And it appears there are no communications. So now we are at Chair's request for written questions from committee members. We don't have any of them. Wow, we're just flying through today. I'm not used to these meetings. So number 10, reports from representatives on councils or associations. If any of the representatives have anything they'd like to share currently. We can get it here early. That would be unusual. Wow. All right, if there's none, then. Sorry?
We're so organized. It's a short meeting.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. No, we're nobody's sad about that, I don't think.
Yeah.
So number 11 is questions asked of and by committee members. Are there any more general questions that have been asked or that have come up?
Through you, Chair, I just want to acknowledge Andrew's question. We have written it down. Andrew will bring back answers for you. Thank you.
Good, thank you very much. That was through the chat.
Yeah. And I think Jazzy has.
Oh, I see. So my screen is first then. Okay, super. Okay, then we are moving on to notice of motions and petitions.
Jazzy has her hand up.
Oh, sorry. Jazzy, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I just had a question, just a general question. So I recognize that there is like the regional learning choice programs for Peel. And on the website, it says there's a self-identification process. And so if the student does identify as African, Black, Afro-Caribbean, First Nations, Inuit, Métis students, if they self-identify and they meet the criteria, they're accepted into one of the regional choice programs without participating in the random selection process. And that's because it says that they were statistically significant disproportionalities. I'm wondering if there was consideration made to special education students that do meet the criteria for admission. Do they automatically, has there been consideration for them to be automatically accepted into the process if they meet the requirements, like the testing or report card requirements?
Through you, Chair. Thank you for the question. That's an excellent question. the Regional Learning Choice Program is run through the Curriculum and Instruction Department. So I would like to ask that I add it to the motion action log because I think it is an important question and a valuable one. I'll add it to the motion action log and connect with and collaborate with my colleague, Superintendent Laura Chabarro, and get back to you, Jazzy, with an answer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other general questions? That was a good one. If there are none, are we moving on to the motion action log? Are we now?
Committee
Yeah.
member motions.
Yeah, we had, no, we asked about that.
Okay, motion action.
Yeah, so on to the motion action log.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. In December, there was a request for census data disaggregated for students with exceptionalities. Just recently, the research manager has provided extracted data. So I was able to, through Superintendent Ted Byers, who was in for me in December, he was able to make that request. And she recently was able to extract the data. And the actions related to this data will be presented by me in my oral report at the next meeting. So both the extracted data and the actions associated with that data. There was a further question of clarification around the processes and commitments of purchasing department to ensure that all approved vendors meet AODA standards. There was an answer provided last and a further question asked around making sure that accountability to following the updates and the requirements of the purchasing department. The oversight for accessibility for field trip and purchasing falls under the responsibility of principals. Principals are the ones who approve all field trips, and as shared at our 2 meetings ago in November, there is a very comprehensive document that has to be filled out by every principal that looks at field trips or bringing in guest speakers. And also superintendents are involved depending on the level that's required. So this is also additionally supported by the proposed appendix that SEAC provided feedback at the last meeting, which will create greater clarity around accessibility and making sure that those decision makings are central before making any planned excursions and or bringing in the guest speakers.
Excuse me.
Yes,
That was Jennifer's question. She's not here right now, so can we leave that on and have it again next month when Jennifer's here?
through you, Chair. Yes, I can do that.
Okay,
I
thank
will
you.
ask Ken to leave it on. Thank you. Sorry, through you, Chair. How many students are currently awaiting psychoeducational assessments? So Dr. Amelia Shu, along with her team, are compiling data as we speak. We want to make sure that the data is accurate, and we'll be sharing that through the oral reports presented in March. So another answer from my colleague, the manager of executive manager of human resources around EA daily fun-filled absences. We expect all staff to actively work in supporting schools on a daily basis. Due to the unexpected situations and personal circumstances, it's difficult to generalize the number of absences at any given time. Historically, backfill rates for supply staff can vary from as low as 25% to around 70% throughout the year, but we prefer our students to have appropriate staff in the classroom instruction every single day. So fill rates vary from 25 to 70% depending on the day throughout the year. The ONSES report was presented in January, and the results of the ADHD were presented in January. So we'll be taking both of those motion action log. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? And obviously the one that was
I will keep it on.
related directly to Jen, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that part.
And no one virtually either? Okay. Okay. Then if we are complete at the motion action log, then we would be moving on to appointment, which is the quickest meeting I think I represented with the SEAC. So if there's no other issues to be raised, then may I have a motion that the Special Education Advisory Committee adjourns this meeting of January 21st at 8:05. So we need to move. Thank you, Trustee.
Dorothy online.
And Trustee Benjamin.
And Trustee Benjamin.
Okay.
Thank you,
Any
everyone. Happy New Year.
That's done. Thank you very much.
Thank you and good night, everybody.
Thank